Alright, we should now have
Neptunia
things ready to go.
reVerse.
Time for memes. Apologies for the slight audio hiccup.
Wanna change the settings?
All fixed now and good to go.
Wanna change the settings?
So not too much going on here, just memery. This is the latest Neptunia title, and at the same time one of the earliest, since really it's just reVerse 1 all over again. But that's par and pass for the course with Idea Factory these days. Anyway, may as well get underway. Since Arrange mode was voted in, that's all we'll be doing. It's actually probably the faster of the two game modes, so might be going significantly underestimate here, but we'll wait and see.
Everything starts right here. Welcome to you can skip.
You can also immediately skip cutscenes, just like in later Nep games. They finally added this to a version of Nep.
It's my turn. I can't.
They finally added that feature to a version of reVerse 1 and it's amazing.
If you may need the
And you also start with every party member. That's the main appeal of this game mode, as it were. Whoops. So we're gonna immediately change our party up a bit. Gonna use 4 characters that are all pretty useful in their own ways. I'll explain each of them as we go through the story as to what they're used for. Also going to set up some combos, because you don't, in this game, or particularly in this mode, skills are very expensive in terms of SP cost. So you have to rely on your... Oops. This one's actually great. You have to rely on your combos a lot in the early game of reVerse until you get the ability to set up your SP reduction skills. Okay, so the first party member is Tekken. Tekken is mainly used because of this ridiculously OP accessory.
in dungeon.
There are some other reasons, but it's a huge part of it.
My best action now is. That was simple. What should I do?
reVerse is also rebalanced around the fact that you have 5 party members, so
Let me see.
you'll see more enemies in
It's my
fights
turn.
and more health.
In dungeon.
They also slightly rebalanced normal mode to account for the fact that you have
Play with me? My
4
best
party
action
members instead of
now
3 even in that mode, but
is easy.
because you still have a more limited roster compared to this one.
I hope this is something we can use. I can take care
Oops.
of this myself. So easy.
Because you still have a more limited roster compared to Arrange mode, the changes aren't quite as drastic as Arrange mode. In Arrange mode, that first battle went from 3 doggoos to 5.
I hope this is
Oh,
something
I need
we
the
can use.
life plan, I almost forgot that.
Jump. Hop. 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 I hope this is something we can use. Hop. Jump. Jump. Jump.
Now the other party members, Tekken, like I said, she starts randomly with a really powerful accessory that gives her 250 attack. We have no idea why, but it is what it
This is
is.
something we can use.
Doubles her attack, so why would you not use her?
Jump.
Nice miss.
During use plant quests. The fishing pond.
Uzume has really high rush combos available early in the game, and EXE drive is still a very powerful thing to use in range mode, just the same as the regular game. Blanc is super tanky as usual. And Plelia is kind of just a good mix of everything, good weapons, good skills, and decent rush. In fact, in this mode, Blanc actually has her 8-hit rush from the start as well, we just don't have any use for it yet. I fucked up and I was meant to do some shopping before this. I'm gonna go back, because I don't think I can easily beat the boss without doing that shopping. Yay, backtracks! But that's what happens when you don't de-rush the game properly, and you never really rushed it all that much to begin with.
It's my turn. Now, who to choose? For 10 years?
May as well go around this way and get all the chests and stuff while I'm doing my backtrack.
This is something we can use. Jump, jump.
Okay, so since I got sidetracked talking about the characters who've got to the shop, this shop is actually kind of OP in its own way. Because in arranged mode, for some reason, they decide that you should start with every costume in the game, and those costumes are sellable items. They only sell for 500 each, but that's still a lot of money in early game. So if we go ahead and just spam selling like 60 of them, for example, can stock up on some nice equipment. So I'll go ahead and get a weapon for Tekken, just to make her even more broken, and 3 life rings, which are still just as broken as they used to be as well. The life rings will go on everyone but Tekken, because Tekken's accessory slot is taken up by her OP accessory. Now we'll continue on. Tekken also already has a pretty decent HP stat. You can see that she's got 3100 health, and the highest otherwise is only 4580, even though all of them have plus 2500 from the life ring, so if not for the life ring she would easily have the most, meaning that her not having one is not that big of a deal. I'm going to make the first safety save of the run because I'm going to be trying to win 2 unwinnable battles at the start of this run for experience. The first one being this one coming up against Arthur, and the second one being against Fake Greenheart later. But both of them are kind of inconsistent, so they'll be the main places I save. And before that we have to deal with this somewhat annoying fight.
I'm a force of fury.
The main problem with these guys is that they heal, and they're also counterintuitively bulky,
My best action now is
especially compared to the versions you fight in the original mode. In the original mode you can just one-shot all of these enemies with IF skill, no such luck here.
It's my turn. I'll end this all. It's my turn.
Everyone got skill sealed apart from Uzume. Well, Uzume I think was skill sealed and now is not.
Now,
But either way, we just really just gotta focus down the one at a time.
Now, who to choose? It's my turn. Hurry up!
Alright, so now we have the unwinnable fight.
Gotta protect the others. You're gonna die here. I can take care of this.
You're mine.
So should I take on? Gonna sleep now.
So you can see immediately how this is kind of inconsistent.
It's my turn.
Now who?
It's my turn. It's my turn. My best action now is
Your best bet is to split
You're
up
mine.
now. Who to choose?
and hope they don't hit Tekken too much because she does the most damage by far.
It's my turn. It's my turn.
Die.
It's
So
my
easy.
turn.
And I think Tekken just missed, which is a big pain in the ass. Oh wait, no, she doesn't have a skill yet. What the hell am I doing?
Now, who to choose?
So I just buffed her by accident.
Die. Weak.
I'm a
So
force of fury.
Okay, I'm probably going to lose this one.
Should I take on?
It's not impossible that I win, and it doesn't matter how many party members are alive at the end, but...
You're mine. Weak.
I'm a force of
Okay, now I
fury.
lost. Because she hit the exact two that she
Now who?
needed to hit to beat me. That's annoying. Anyway, I'm not allowed to lose, so we'll go ahead and close the game and re-enter it. We'll have to do the scrub fight again, but it is what it is. So yes, Tekken and Blanc are the only two that are really doing damage, so with them both dead and with no more life fragments left, that just was not an acceptable scenario. There is no way I was going to win that. It's fine, we go again.
It's my turn. It's my turn.
Whoops. Little
I'm a
hasty there.
force of fury. Your 10 years? Hurry up! My best action now.
You can see that not only are these guys OP, they also take a lot of turns. Well, not so much OP as bulky. And the female ones heal, so killing those offers the best chance you've got to go quickly. You can also see that I only got one SP skill before running out of SP.
It's my turn.
Okay, both females are dead, so
What should I do? It's my turn.
the fight shouldn't take too much longer now.
I won't lose. Ever.
Try this one again.
It's my turn.
Die. So
Yes.
easy.
Okay, Uzume dying is okay.
It's my turn. I'm a
Still going to
force of
revive her,
fury.
but
You're mine.
It's my turn.
that's nice.
I'll end this all. I can take care of this. Should I take on?
Now who?
Damn it!
They lined up. That's unfortunate.
Now who?
Let me see.
Okay, that's a really good survive.
Hurry up! My
Gonna
best
revive
action
for
now.
save too.
Now who?
Not yet.
Okay, this is good.
This
Okay, so we killed the unwinnable fight this time, and it doesn't matter that our party members were dead, they all get experience anyway for some reason. The range mode works weirdly.
Kinda shaky.
So now I'm level 16,
I can go anytime.
and I have a bunch of new skills and stuff. I missed, of course.
I'm ready
And I missed again.
This can't be happening to me.
I see it.
So now we can go ahead and buy some more equipment. What I just bought is a equipment that when I equip on my characters it gives them more SP, which is something I sorely need in this game because the skills are actually quite powerful but you get hardly any SP. Oh whoops, what did I just do? Okay, yeah, I got it. So I'm just going to execute the usual method here to get the materials for the weakened enemies lane. Reset this first gather until it's a golden crown, and then the later one will be mysterious flying object. I also need to fight at least 2 enemy avatars to line up my experience correctly. Or rather,
You weren't paying attention.
that isn't quite right anymore, but I'll do it anyway.
Let me see. I can take care of this. I'm a force of. It's my turn. See you.
I think this will be enough. I'm not going to fight 2, I'll just fight this guy.
It's my turn.
So if we go through to this thing, then it'll have mysterious flying object, times 2 is perfect. And weaken enemies goes on, as usual. Basically, the first thing you do in any real reverse speedrun is get weaken enemies enabled.
Spiral?
At least as soon as you can. This guy just takes skills to the face,
I can go anytime.
and then a couple of combos finish him off.
Final round.
One change to reverse mode is that Blackheart has 2 skill gemmers, because why not?
I can go anytime. Fine. Who should I take
But in exchange,
on?
she is nowhere near as difficult as she is in any of the original releases.
I'll end this. I'm ready.
Even if you don't have the extra levels from doing the unwinnable boss kill that I did earlier, she is still very easy.
Should I take? It's exciting.
The only problem being misses.
This isn't like me.
Either way, she's dead in like no time at all. And back we go.
I'm gonna get serious on you. It's Uzume's turn. Exciting! Let me see. I'll end this. Who should I? It's Uzume's exciting.
We go ahead and quickly leave the dungeon to restore SP before the boss. And then head to the boss. The first part of this run is pretty easy because of how much extra experience I got from killing that unwinnable fight. Blame Idea Factory for rebalancing these fights to be actually winnable, and then giving them souped up rewards, I suppose.
I hope this is something we can use. I hope this is something we can use.
In the original reVerse 1, if you did win those fights, not only are they basically impossible to win in the new game setting, you also get no experience or
I can take care of this.
rewards of note whatsoever. So not only did they make them winnable, they also made them actually worth winning. Which is a bit weird, but
Take care of this.
you gotta take advantage of what you can for a speedrun. So, I'm all game. These guys kind of annoying.
I can go anytime.
Just combo them down.
Let me see. I'll win this.
Because I need my skills later, really.
I'm ready anytime. Perish. Die. Ta-da! Okay, I'm gonna go. Let me see. See you.
Your skills are so limited that you end up having to use combos even when it would be a lot faster to use skills,
Spiral?
just because there is no other option unless you want to go even slower on a later fight. Later on I will be able to use more skills than I currently can, but for now I am very, very limited. Only really CPUs can use any reasonable amount of skills in early game, and even then it's only like 2 or 3 instead of 1.
It's my turn.
Anyway, they changed this fight from a solo fight into a 4v4. But there isn't any skill jammer pod here or anything, they just
I'll end this.
chucked in 3 random enemies from the previous fight.
Uzumi's. Okay, I'm gonna go.
So we go ahead and combo them a bit until
Should
the
I
numbers are
take on?
reduced, and then add in some skills
I'll end this.
to end proceedings.
It's Uzumi's turn. Okay, I'm gonna go. Let me see. I'm ready anytime. It's Uzumi's turn. Exciting! Let me see. I'm ready anytime. Spiral? It's
Didn't end up using any skills, I'll just use them on Kill Machine though. Although Kill Machine does come with a skill jammer pod, so you gotta combo that down first.
exciting!
Because apparently every boss that was remotely hard in the original game now needs a skill jammer pod to make them, well, actually much easier, but who cares about that tutorial?
I'm ready any. Spiral Dream! Okay, I'm gonna go. It's my turn. Okay, I'll end this. Okay, it's Uzumi. It's my turn. Um,
You also notice the lack of messages about party members leaving or entering, of course, because we are in arranged mode where you just have every character all the time. So go ahead and now get a bit more money. Upgrade my SP bracelets and grab some more life fragments, so I need to actually make that plan. Whoops. One sec. Alright, now grab some extra life fragments. Just for safety, because things are actually going to be able to do some damage to me soon. Anyway, you can see that I'm just getting extra SP out of this, only 50, but combined with other sources, it'll start adding up. And it also gives me a little bit extra defense as well.
I hope this is something we can use.
So, Chapter 3 is where the second and final winnable fight is. There are 2 more unwinnable fights, but they are past the point where you actually need extra experience, plus they are actually legitimately somewhat hard to win, so I end up just not winning those 2. But first we have to get through the second one, which is around the same difficulty as the first one, maybe a little easier. In the original game, this unwinnable fight was actually the hardest one out of all 4, because the enemy had 800,000 health. In this game, not so much. Either way, that's at the end of this chapter and we're still near the start, so for now, things go pretty normally, just run through the chapter, combos and stuff.
Serious on you. It's Uzume's turn. Okay, I'm gonna go. Let me see.
These angels are still the most annoying enemy in the fight because of their healing rings.
I'll end this.
Really the most annoying thing in this fight is being knocked back, and you might have noticed, but in arranged mode every enemy uses knockback. Every single one. Okay, not every single one, but basically every single one. And your own party members also have a ton of knockback
I'll end this.
on most of their combos and a lot of their skills. So things kind of go all over the place. And it's very annoying, but this is the game they decided to make. Knockback City.
Go anytime. I'll end this. It's Uzume's turn.
Can I reach the angel? Not right now. Can I reach anything? Not right now. Lovely.
I'll end this.
This is what happens very commonly with
Anytime.
knockback spam. You just can't reach anything.
Spiral Dream. It's my turn.
And so you have to defend your turn and hope that they don't knock you back away from them again next turn.
I'm gonna go. Should I take up? I'll end this.
Like, even if you do like strategic placement to try and manipulate your knockbacks to be good, you still can't control which party member the enemy will knock back and in which direction, so really the fights just become a bit chaotic when there are lots of them knocking you back and you're knocking them all around the place as well. But that garbage is over now, and we can go back to the somewhat solo boss fights. There are going to be more random stuff shoved into the boss fights later, but for now
I hope this
I have a few legitimate solo ones which are somewhat less tedious than that, which was.
Should I take off? I can take care of this.
I'm a force of fury.
What should I?
Now, who to choose?
My best action now. Who should I take off?
The only problem being
It's my
misses
turn.
are still an issue.
I'll end this.
I can take
A
it.
rather big issue.
It's my turn. It's my turn. My best action.
I'll end this all.
What should I do? I can take care of this. Let me see.
I'm a force of.
Hurry up!
I'll end this all.
I can take care of
But
it.
like I said earlier, I don't need to worry about party members dying because they just get they get experience from battles regardless of dying or not.
Let's take a little.
Okay, so that's the fucking fishing pond. We might be back here later, but that's not where I'm meant to go now.
I hope this is something we can use.
So now we head to the final dungeon of Chapter 3. Having full cutscene skip makes Rebirth 1 actually a pretty fast game. I can kind of blitz through Chapter 3 in just a few minutes.
I hope this is something we can use.
But I do have to worry about these end of the chapter boss fights a wee bit. And also the terrible colouring in the second half of the dungeon. I was actually legitimately having issues seeing the red boomerang enemies in that first fight, which is another reason why it's so bad. Apart from the knockback spam. But okay, so this is where I'll make my second and possibly final save of the run. Just because this is another unwinnable fight which you win for experience. and this one I definitely cannot afford to lose. But first, R4 again.
Spiral Dream! Exciting!
So you can see that I'm doing shit all for damage here.
Who should I take on? I'm ready.
Apart from Tekken and Blanc,
Now who?
R4 is actually weak to elements.
I'm gonna go all in this. Who should I
Not necessarily
take on?
magic, but elements.
Die.
Exciting! It's Uzume.
If you use attacks with no elements, she takes basically no damage.
Go anytime. I'm ready anytime. Who should I take on?
Now
Ta-da! Exciting!
you're mine.
I'm ready anytime.
Unless it's someone OP like Peachy.
Exciting!
You're
All in this. Who should I? Okay.
you're mine. Die.
I'm ready any.
Die.
Ta-da! Exciting!
You're mine.
All in this.
This can't be
So I have a
happening to me.
an elemental break combo set on Blanc,
Are you ready?
and Tekken's top skill is also elemental, which is amazing.
Exciting! Who should I take
In this fight,
on?
it's just skill spam and hope.
Exciting!
Generally it goes okay though. And after beating that fight, I get so much experience that I now have access to my EXE droves.
Uzume's turn. I can go
But
anytime.
since I don't have any rush combos set yet, I kind of have to just play this the same way I was before.
Now who? Die.
Except it's a little less
Die.
biased towards the few characters that could do damage before. The other characters can actually do a bit more damage now.
Spiral Dream. I'm ready and it's my.
You're mine.
Okay. I'm the.
No.
I can go any.
What?
I also got quite a lot of money from that. Then I can grab 4 more bracelets that give more XP than before. We're just going to keep buying more bracelets. We're just going to keep buying bracelets that give more and more SP. That's going to be a common trend throughout this run. And then upgrade all of you. Finally set up some rush combos. So we get rid of our power combos. We're done with those. And you can see that Uzume's one has 10 hits, which is a big reason why we're using her. She is also decent power-wise, but it is the main reason that we're using her. And then we're also going to switch up the partners. Now we have the EXE, we don't need to have Limit Break on Lulia so much. I mean on Peachy so much, so we'll go ahead and set that up for Tekken instead, and set up wait time reduce for Uzume so that she can spam rush as much as possible. So now the game kind of becomes similar to reVerse 1 in that EXE spam is the order of the day, every day. There are a few bosses later on where it won't be as effective, but it's still going to be the focus of the strats, and unfortunately that's just how this game rolls. If you're not using EXE, then what are you doing? Other than a challenge run without EXE. It would be cool if using EXE wasn't the optimal strategy for once, but sadly it is. And by using, of course, I mean spamming the ever-loving hell out of.
Spiral Dream. Exciting. It's my turn.
It also helps that the bosses have such small guard break files so you can just guard break them casually while you're
It's Uzume's turn. Okay. I'm gonna.
getting your EXE meter up.
I'll end this. Okay.
I do need to remove those EX finishes though, I kind of forgot about this.
I'll end this. I'm ready and.
Those will just get in the way because they stop you from button mashing when you're doing your combos. So. So we'll go ahead and get rid of them. Even Blunt's EXE can be somewhat useful. Even though I haven't bought a weapon for her yet. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Stupid sticky cursor. So now we're going to come up on the next boss change. Not a major one. Well, kind of a mean more than a major change. So first up, we'll just fight another killer chain. Okay. Pretty normal
Spiral
at this point.
I can go anytime. Should I? I'm ready any. Ta-da! Exciting! Should I? I'll end this. Okay, it's my turn. I'm ready.
And then they decide that the best way to balance this fight
It's Uzume's
for
turn.
arrange mode is to put 3 killer chains in one fight.
I'm gonna go. It's my turn.
Truly the epitome of balance.
That was a sin. Ta-da!
Does it matter? Not one bit. Blan's AoE EXE is like lol. I don't care. Get wrecked.
I hope this is something we can use. I'm gonna get
We don't even
serious
really
on
need to
this.
care about this Gemma's fight, which is one of the hardest ones in the original game, just because the skill Gemma pod dies in like 5 seconds. And then you can go ahead and just, well,
I'll end this.
do the expected outcome.
Ta-da! Uzume's turn. Okay, I can. Who should I take on? I'm ready anytime.
One thing I haven't really touched on though is in music. And this game decided to basically change the entire soundtrack from Rebirth 1. Some of them are remix tracks from the original Rebirth 1, and I do like the remixes for the most part. They're all pretty good, but when they couldn't be bothered doing remixes, they filled in all kinds of other random music from across the series, probably to help probably because it's kind of a 10th anniversary celebration thing. But yes, you can just enter a dungeon and suddenly be faced with a Neptunia U or Plant vs. Zombies soundtrack.
Are you ready? Ta-da! Uzume's turn. I can
And
go
sometimes even
anytime.
boss battles have them, like this.
I'm ready anytime. Spiral
In general, I have no real complaints with the soundtrack, but some of the other game tracks are a little funnily placed. And as usual, it wouldn't be a Rebirth 1 speedrun without activating Super EXE Drive immediately.
Jump. Yeah. I hope this is something we can use.
Yeah, who knows if reVerse will ever come to computer or not. It would be nice, but, like, at the same time, it's kind of their PS5 entry point right now. Also, the PC market might not take it very well, with it being yet another Rebirth 1 clone. We'll have to wait and see, I suppose.
Whoa! This one seems strong. Can I? Hurry up!
Anyway, nothing's fancy here.
A force of fury.
My best action now is...
In case you haven't noticed, Blonde CXE is kind of useful.
I'm so pumped. Let's do
Let
this.
me see.
And more random side game music.
I'll end this all.
My best action now is... Now, who did...
Oh yes, in this, I should also mention that in reVerse,
I'm a force.
every EXE causes turn delay on enemies that it hits, it's not just certain ones. In the original games,
What should I...
or in the original reVerse 1, Neptune, Blanc and Uni had it, and that made the EXEs kind of broken
Should I take
in
on?
late game, especially when you combine them with 5PB's turn delay combo.
My best action now is... Damn it! My turn!
Oh yeah, this is the third unwinnable fight, I kind of got to it without realizing.
Who should I take
my
on?
turn.
I can take care of this.
And this one is not worth
My
winning,
turn.
Sorry.
because you do 0 damage until you gut break him, and even after you gut break him you do like no damage. But anyway, back to what I was
Are
saying,
you ready?
every EXE in this game causes turn delay, so you don't just have Neptune, Blanc and Uni having really OP ones for no reason.
I'm gonna go. Let me see. I'll end this. Ta-da!
That is all.
Go in. I'm ready anytime. Spiral Drift.
Okay, so now we can do some shopping finally, grab a new set of weapons. You can't actually just take every top weapon because some of them, or every most expensive weapon because some of them are bad. But you can grab most of them. No, this soundtrack is pretty good. And just like reVerse 1, because I don't have Jumping Star and it is way out of the way to get it, I have to go around the long way in this dungeon. They didn't change anything about the overworld movement. I'm gonna make my third save here, because this is when the boss fights finally start realizing that they should be boss fights, and not just pushovers. Yeah, Chapter 5 had 3 fights, they were just really quick. They are really quick in the original reVerse 1 run as well, but with cutscene skips, it just goes by even faster.
Who should I take on? I'll end this. Ta-da!
So this fight takes a while to kill you in this game, unfortunately. It is the fourth and final unwinnable fight, and it is most definitely not practical to win, but
Die.
because it takes so long to kill you, you just use it to build up your XE gauge before
Die.
I'm ready.
actually accepting your death.
Die.
Who should
I got basically full
take
XE, so good enough.
on? Win the round? Are you ready?
And here we go, here's Momus. So Momus shares the same trait that
Uzumi's turn.
R4 from
I can go
the
anywhere.
original
It's my turn. I'm ready. Should I
Chapter 3 did,
I can go
in that
anytime.
she actually
I'm
resists
ready
typeless
anytime.
damage rather
Okay, I'm good.
strongly,
I'll end this.
to use this
Spiral?
somewhat unfitting word, but the only one I could think of.
Uzumi's turn. Who should I
And
take on?
The big deal about that is that every EXE in the game is typeless damage. So you can no longer just spam EXEs and expect to get super good results out of it. It actually takes quite a while to take this thing down.
I'm ready anytime. It's I'll end this.
Of course, that doesn't mean that this fight is actually hard.
Uzumi's turn.
It just means that you have to actually spend a little time buffing yourself, building the EXE meter. Apparently Peachy just wants to die over and over.
Spiral Dream! Who should I take on? Ta-da! Uzumi's turn. I'll end this.
And finally you get to finish it off, even if a party member or two dies, who really cares? But with Momus out of the way, it kind of goes back to the same fare as it was in chapters 4 and 5 for a while. So while we just kind of smash our way through these boss fights, I'd like to mention that this category is very unoptimized and a very quick run. So if anyone wants a Neptunia world record and to play a fast category, and you have a PS5, which I get is quite not necessarily a given right now, this is an interesting game to run.
I hope this is something we can use.
And I would definitely recommend it.
I hope this is something
There is a lot of potential because you have 20 characters and I've only really just picked 4 that look the most OP to me. I'm pretty sure that an optimal route is going to look nothing like the one I'm currently doing. As to what exactly will change, who really knows? But I do hope that one day this game will go much faster than it is right now. And I can definitely see it happening.
I'll end this all. I can take care of it.
So yeah, in arrange mode, I did mention this earlier, but no character ever leaves or joins your party because you just have every character the whole time. That's a characteristic of arrange mode. When you're playing original mode, the party leaves and joins are similar to the original reVerse one with the DLC. But they actually did rebalance something. They made it so that you can't get the oracles in original mode until chapter 7. So original mode is actually, I wouldn't say balanced, but slightly more fair than reVerse 1 with DLC is. Because you can't just smash the early game clean to pieces with oracles. You actually have to put in a little bit of effort. And by the time you do get the oracles, they're not worth using.
It's Uzumi's turn.
Histoire is worth using, but not the other 3. So in that regard, they actually have put in some balancing work for this game, even if it kind of looks all over the place at times.
It's Uzumi's turn. Exciting! It's my turn.
Okay, I guess Peachy's kind of shit right now.
Anytime. Spiral? It's my turn.
I think the first thing I'll do with any kind of new route of this game is to get rid of Peachy, because she just doesn't seem to be cutting it. But I actually don't know who would replace her at this point. That's the thing, is that outside of Tekken, who has the elemental skill that you need to punch through stuff like Momus, Uzume, who has the crazy rush combos, and Blanc, who has kind of rush and decent power. Good rush and decent power and decent bulk. After you add those 3, the 4th is not as clear.
This is something we can
Peachy's alright. She's definitely decent in early game, but definitely falls off pretty quickly. So,
Spiral?
hard to say what the optimal party will be. It will almost certainly include Tekken just because that accessory is done.
I'll end this.
But after that,
It's Uzumi's turn.
who knows?
I can't believe I lost.
And then another fact is Well, another consideration for this game is who partners who, because the partner effects are somewhat useful, at least in terms of shortens weight and break damage limit. Unfortunately, there's only one break damage limit partner in the game, and that's Neptunia. So Neptunia is kind of chained to whoever needs limit break the most. In this run I use it on Pishi for some of it and Tekken for the rest, but I think it will probably end up getting changed so that Tekken uses it the whole run.
Get it, but we need to beat them, right? Uzumi's turn. Exciting!
Other than that, all you can really do is stack Shorten's weight on your party members.
I'm ready anytime. It's Uzumi's turn. I can go anytime. It's my spiral dream.
Let my guard down.
And now, 2 more fights with Momus.
Body is kind of
These two are a little easier than the first fight with Momus, but they still go along the same lines. You do basically no damage unless you're using buff DXEs or Tekken skills. She does now have a new skill, but it costs 500 SP, so that is a hard pass.
spiral dream.
And even when you do use Tekken still, it still takes quite a while to kill him.
I'll end this. It's Uzumi's turn. Okay, I'm ready anytime. Exciting! Should I take? Exciting!
You can see that the EXEs are doing, well, it depends.
I'll end this. It's my
The Tekken still does about 100 to 150k, and the EXEs, well, they might hit 50 to 100 if you're lucky.
spiral dream.
They do help buff the turn count, or they do help buff the combo count so that Tekken does more though. That is still a mechanic in this game where the more hits you have in your combo, the more every subsequent hit does.
Okay, I'll end this. Damn it! It's my turn. Exciting! I'll end this. Okay, it's my turn.
I'm out of SP, not nice. I'll just do that.
Exciting! I'm ready anytime. It's my turn. I can go anytime. Exciting! My body is kind of shaky. Ta-da! Uzumi's turn.
This one is a little easier.
Okay, I'm gonna. It's my turn.
You can see that I'm actually doing something resembling damage without my buffs. It's still not great though.
I'm ready anytime. Spiral dream. I can go anytime. I'm ready anytime. Okay, I'm gonna go. Okay, I'll end this. Should I take off? Okay, spiral dream.
Yeah, that actually finally did some decent damage. It also has way less health than the first phase. Oops.
Spoiler alert.
They also spoil you on how to get the true ending because it was kind of ridiculously hard to find out in the original game how to get it. And then head to the final boss. Via a surprise attack, I guess. May as well use it to pose an EXE.
I'll end this all.
What should I do? Should I take?
My best action now is this is a force of fury.
Hurry up! Let me see.
These things are actually quite strong.
Hurry up!
Yeah, let's just run away. It wasn't worth it. Use one of our 2 eject buttons and try again.
Me up!
This place has some nice new music as well. But it's also so saturated that it's kind of hard to see stuff. like the teleporters.
Jump, jump.
I'm gonna make a save here, not necessarily because I'm gonna die, because I'm not, but just so that I have something to set up the post-run memes from. Because we are slightly ahead of schedule right now, so we're gonna need to kill some time.
Final round, fight! Ta-da! Uzumi's turn! I can go anytime!
So same old annoying R4, spawns way too far back. Also still has that same trait from before where she takes very little damage unless you're using typeless, unless you're using elements. And we still have pretty poor access to elements,
Take on! It's Uzumi's
so
turn!
tech and skill is the way to go.
I'm ready.
You can do a little bit of damage with EXE, just not very much.
I can go anytime!
I'm ready anytime. You're mine.
Okay! I'll win this, okay? It's my turn!
You're mine.
Spiral? I can go anytime! Exciting!
Die.
It's
I'm ready.
I can go any... It's Uzumi's turn!
No, I'm not over yet. Not over yet.
It's...
Yeah, I set this estimate when we didn't really know how long the game was going to take.
Ta-da! Uzumi's turn! I can go anytime!
It was more for safety than anything else.
It's
Obviously it's turned out to be a bit overkill, but what can you do?
It's Uzumi's
We will
turn.
meme for a while.
Okay, I'm gonna... It's my turn!
Oh, and look, the game's over.
A perfect win!
So the final boss does not have the same traits that R4 and her minions do. Or that R4 and Momus do, rather. So just gets absolutely destroyed. Anyway, go ahead and head to the credits while I be right back, and then we will meme for a while until the next run is ready to go.
Well, it's all over now. Who knew this all started with me being beat up?
Alrighty, so that's that. It is a rather quick game, as you'd imagine.
Neptunia reVerse. We'll pick it up from last time,
So we'll kill some time while the vanilla runners prepare. in the only way fitting for this game. We're gonna go fishing. Yeah, I guess I can buy a bit more bait. And what I'm going to try and fish up is the biggest fish in the pond, the top fishing rod. It is kind of hard to get this fishing rod, but still worth a go. Maybe we can get lucky before the vanilla run is ready. So this fishing minigame is basically what Idea Factory decided to add to use the features of the PS5. It uses the tactile feedback from the triggers. Well, in this case the right trigger. Where what you want to do is only pull in the fish when the trigger is not resisting you. And many memes were had when people like me and Endeavour that are too thick to actually play the demo game of the PS5 try to work out how to fish properly. I think we have it worked out now, but that doesn't mean that getting this fishing rod is going to be easy or anything, because this is the hardest thing to fish up in the game. At least the hardest thing that's actually worth anything to fish up in the game. It's going to give me some tutorials because this is the first time this file was fished. So the key thing with fishing is to not reel until the fish is not resisting, and only reel very softly, like you're only pressing the trigger very slightly. If the top bar reaches the middle before the bottom bar, then the fish wins, and if the bottom bar reaches the middle first, then I win. And this time I just got a fish. That's okay, we'll try again. See if I can get that rare fishing rod for the memes. You can barely even see the bar moving, but I trust you. You can trust me when I say that my bar, that I am reeling in this fish successfully. Now it's a little more obvious. You could also see my bar moving quite suddenly when my controller started vibrating, and I had to quickly let go. And I got an old scenario. I guess I can quickly show what those actually do, although it's nothing too crazy. If you go to the museum and go to chapters, I will now have this. And this is just vanilla Neptunia's story in backlog format. That's the only way you could read it. You can't even read it as proper cutscenes. And there are no voices or anything like that either. It's just the dialogue box is transcribed. Anyway, I'm not going to bother going through the whole thing because you can just go and play vanilla if you want to read that, or even boot up your own copy of reVerse. Back to try and get that fishing rod. This also has a slight amount of motion controls, nothing too crazy, but you tilt your controller whenever you cast the rod and whenever you reel it in at the very end, and whenever you pull the fish out of the water at the very end. But no real crazy motion controls otherwise. This one is resisting a lot. I decided to just fight that one. Hardcore bait fish. Another scenario.
Museum.
Let's see if I can get something that isn't a scenario or a fish. This one's resisting quite a lot. You can see that its bar is actually slightly smaller than mine. Okay, it's just another scenario. Boring! And there's also all these weird fish names. They all look strikingly like a certain fish from V2, but they have wacky names and wacky skins. Like that one, I wonder what that could be referring to. Do you guys have any idea?
There.
Have to be careful with this fish.
What
An arc amulet. Yeah, you can fish up gear appropriate to the place where you unlock the... You can fish up gear which is equivalent to the place where you're fishing from. Since this is a final fishing pond, this is actually in-game gear. In this case, it's strong armor. Not much SP, because it's an armlet. The way they set up the gear in arrange mode is so that bracelets give you SP and armlets give you actual defenses.
Not too shabby.
Gotta say, these fish have been kind of massive. Haven't even gotten a BGM yet. I'll have to go and buy more good bait, I suppose. This fish is being a bit annoying. Probably gets another scenario there. Let's be real. Okay, no, another arc amulet. Anyway, time to go and get more bait. I guess I'll buy a couple of the BGM bait just to show what the BGM are, but...
Let's go fish a little.
So they require you to get these BGMs for the trophies. But to compensate, they do give you guaranteed BGM bait and guaranteed scenario bait. So the only thing that you have to fish up legitimately randomly for the plat is the final fishing rod. Which is what I was trying to get for the memes. Might still get it, of course, but haven't been lucky so far. But yeah, because I used the music bait, I got not a music. Apparently it's not guaranteed. Must be only just slightly close to guaranteed. The more you know. Slightly off guaranteed, I mean. Let's see if I get lucky second time and actually get a BGM from my BGM bait. There we go.
Let's listen to it in the museum.
So if you use this, then go back to the museum again. I'll have some random reverse track. All these other tracks that are unlocked. So there's this one. But basically they make you fish up all the reverse new tracks, and all these other tracks listed are just from the other games. The ones that they reuse.
Just you wait, I'll catch a big one. Boing. There.
We'll fish with Fresh's bait for a little more. Just to see if I can get anything interesting, and then if I can't, then just move on to vanilla. Supreme Ultimate Bait Fish. Now go ahead and use that. This is a strong fish. I suppose that's expected. Ah, there we go. So that's how you get it. You just get that Supreme Ultimate Bait Fish. And then you use that, and you get the SS Rare Fishing Rod. And for all of that effort, I mean, it wasn't really that much effort, but for all of that, you just get a better fishing rod so that you can use no bait and still reel in fish realistically. Possibly not here, because this is the final fishing pond after all, but... There are all kinds of weird wonderful things you can fish up anyway. More hardcore baitfish. Anyway, I guess I should also show what happens when you fail the fishing one way or another. So what we'll do is we'll reel in too early this time. Oh look, it's a monster! Because apparently they couldn't think of a better failure consequence, so you just fight some random boss. You can fish up all kinds of weird stuff in boss form. And these are actually pretty powerful enemies for the point in the game that you reach the fishing pod. The good old one-shot on Uzume there. That's a lot of damage.
It's my turn. I can take care of this. I'll show you the true power of a goddess.
I'll end this. I'm ready, Eddie.
The one saving grace of arrange mode is that they got rid of boss regen. Nothing regens. So you can take however long you like to kill stuff. But it debuffed my vitality, so I still lost. And that's that. So if you fail fishing in any way, you just fish up a boss.
Neptunia reVerse.
And I guess we lost the hardcore fishing rod, but who really cares? I've already got the hardcore fishing rod on my actual file, so it matters not. Anyway, now you've seen all that reVerse has to offer, apart from normal mode, but that's not very interesting. It has some unique quirks from reVerse 1 with DLC. Like I mentioned before, you can't get the oracles until chapter 7, you have 4 fighting moons instead of 3, and you also get the much faster Lily rank mechanic. So you can actually use Lily ranks and partner skills somewhat effectively, but other than that, it is still pretty similar to reVerse 1 speedruns. So, for the best, this arrange mode was over then, I suppose. I am going to head over to the intermission screen, and when you come back, it will be the vanilla race, probably. There is a chance that we might have to do another small gap filler run, but it shouldn't be anything too big. So stay tuned and see you in a bit.